Root canals have a bad reputation, and some people even call them dangerous. But what if I told you that fear might be based off a 100-year-old myth? I'm a dentist, and I'll walk you through the surprising history, the real science, and what you actually need to know, because it could save you from losing a perfectly good tooth. So, where did all this fear around root canals begin? It's not a modern phenomenon. It goes back to more than a century, a time where dental infections were really life-threatening. And around the 1920s, there was a dentist named Weston Price. He believed that root canal teeth or root treated teeth could leak harmful bacteria into the bloodstream, and that can lead to chronic illnesses across the body. Things like arthritis, kidney disease, heart disease, you name it. And Price tried to show this by taking teeth that had root canal treatments, implanting them into the skin of rabbits, and then claiming that these rabbits became sick and died as a result of the experiment. And these experiments were shocking, and the idea became known as the focal infection theory, essentially the belief that any hidden infection in the mouth could silently poison the rest of your body. But back then, there was no reliable antibiotics, there was no advanced disinfection, and there was no modern equipment. And truthfully, dental infections were scary. So at the time, the theory felt believable. And in fact, the theory was so powerful it led to what we now call extraction mania. So imagine going to the dentist for a small cavity and they tell you, let's pull out every tooth in your mouth just in case. And that actually happened. Medical doctors used to refer patients to have all their teeth pulled to supposedly treat everything from depression to arthritis. But here's the turning point. So, as antibiotics were developed and dental technology was advanced through the 1930s and 1940s, the medical community began to challenge Price's research. New, better designed studies showed that his experiments were flawed. So, rabbits are not humans, and the conditions used in his studies are nothing like modern root canal procedures. And slowly, the medical and dental communities moved away from this theory. But the fear never really went away fully, and it's been passed along even through stories, social media, and anecdotal claims. And if you hear somebody online talking about repeating these century old claims, remember they're talking about a time before antibiotics, before rubber dams, before sterile procedures, before modern endodontics, and in a completely different world. But if these old fears are from the past, what does modern science have to say? Let's break that down because that's the part that might surprise you. So let's zoom into something most people get completely wrong about root canals, and that's bacteria. So you may not realize it, but your mouth is one of the most bacteria-rich places in the entire body. And at the moment, we have over 700 species of bacteria living comfortably there. Billions of them, all day, every day. Yet you're fine, you're healthy. Why is that? Because your immune system is built to handle them. And in fact, every single time you brush, you floss, you chew food, some of these bacteria slip into the bloodstream. It happens all the time, and there's even a name for it, transient bacteremia. But your immune system cleans that up, no problem. So, what happens with the root canal? Could it somehow tip the balance? Some people believe that bacteria inside a root treated tooth might escape and quietly poison the rest of your body for years. And to be honest, that's a powerful fear. But is it grounded to any real science? Well, before we jump into any conclusions, think about this. A well-performed root canal or a modern root canal doesn't leave festering infection behind. It removes the inflamed pulp, it disinfects the inner canals with powerful solutions, and it seals it off from the outside world. And that's a big difference from an untreated tooth where bacteria multiply freely. And here's a little twist most people don't expect. You can actually push more bacteria into your bloodstream from aggressive toothbrushing than you would ever from a properly performed root canal, which is kind of mind blowing. It's not just one study that's saying this. So, systematic reviews covering thousands of patients found no credible link between modern root canal therapy and chronic diseases. None. And of course, if you rewind a century back to Weston Price's time, no antibiotics, no sterile rubber dams, no proper disinfection, it's no wonder they were scared. But we're not practicing in the 1920s anymore, and modern root canal treatment is built on decades of evidence based science, advanced infection control, and precision techniques. So, how do we exactly do a root canal step by step? So, you might want to check out this video up here. Okay, so let's talk about some of the risks so you can make the best choice for your health. First, root canals can sometimes fail. So, that happens if a hidden canal is missed or a tiny branch wasn't thoroughly disinfected. And you'd also be surprised how complex tooth roots can be, like an underground tunnel system that no one sees. And the second thing is instruments can break. Rotary files are extremely fine and flexible, but in rare cases they can still separate inside a canal. It might sound scary, but even then, we do have ways to work around them or sometimes to remove the piece. And the third thing is the restoration, so the crown. If that isn't done quickly enough, sometimes bacteria can leak in, and imagine disinfecting an entire house and leaving the window wide open. That's why finishing the tooth with a proper crown is essential. The fourth thing is the risk of cracks. Now, a tooth that has been hollowed by infection is weaker, and if you don't protect it, it might fracture later on, and that's why a final crown matters so much. But here's the good news: these risks are predictable and they can be minimized. So make sure you choose a skilled dentist or an endodontist, which basically means a root canal specialist, and always follow their aftercare instructions and don't delay treatment. The longer an infection stays or sits in your tooth, the more complicated things become. And even if a root canal fails, it's not the end of the line. Many times a retreatment or sometimes a small surgery can still be done to save the tooth. Okay, so what if you ignore that infected tooth, hoping that it will maybe settle down on its own? Here's the thing: infections don't follow your schedule. They don't take weekends off, and once the bacteria has reached the nerve of your tooth, they move on, spreading deeper to the tunnels inside your root and eventually even beyond that. And you might think that things might be improving for a while, the pain can die down, which sounds good, until you realize that this is a sign that the nerve has died. But the bacteria, they're still multiplying freely and now hidden under the radar. And that's how you go from manageable tooth pain to a swollen face, a painful abscess, a dangerous jaw infection, and these infections can travel fast, and in rare cases they can become life-threatening. But let me leave you with a question. What would happen if you just let the bacteria keep going week after week, year after year? And in reality, our bodies can't clear a deep tooth infection on its own. It's a bit like having a leaking pipe behind your walls. You may not see the damage right away, but it's quietly spreading, getting worse, and the longer you leave it, the more complicated and costly it is to fix. So let's bring all of this together. Are root canals dangerous? Now, they remove infection and they protect your natural tooth. Modern techniques make them very predictable and safe, and century-old fears don't hold up under today's evidence. And if you take away one thing, it's this: a properly performed root canal is a safe, proven way to protect your tooth, to make it healthy, and to make it working for years to come. But I'm also curious, what have you heard about root canals? Are you still unsure, or maybe you've had one yourself? Let me know in the comments down below. I generally try and read through all the comments and I reply when I can.